It was late October in rural Washington state, just outside those small logging communities tucked deep in the foothills of the Cascade Mountains, miles before you even reach your destination. I was driving home from a friend's house near the outskirts of Darrington. The main highway was closed down for construction, which meant I had to take an old logging road. It was barely maintained, just gravel, mud, and these deep tire ruts cutting through the thick, dark forest. It was getting close to 11:30 at night. The rain had finally stopped, but a heavy fog was clinging low to the ground. My headlights could barely pierce more than 30 feet ahead of me. About 10 minutes into this detour, I started to feel that strange, unnerving sensation of being watched. You know how the woods usually feel alive at night? The sounds of crickets, frogs, a distant owl. But then, suddenly, everything went completely silent. No wind, no insects, nothing. That's when I saw something standing up ahead in the road. At first, I thought it was just a deer. It was standing about 50 yards in front of my truck. But as I got closer, my headlights fully illuminated it, and I realized this was no deer. It was standing upright on two legs. It had to be 7, maybe 7.5 feet tall. Its body was massive broad shoulders, long muscular arms hanging almost down to its knees. Dark gray fur covered its entire body, slick and matted from the rain. But its legs were bent backward like a dog's, not like a person's, and its head, it was unmistakably Wolf-like. It had a long snout and pointed ears that twitched slightly as it watched me, and its eyes bright amber eyes that reflected my headlights like glowing coals. I just froze. The truck idled about 30 feet away from it. I didn't dare honk. I didn't dare move a muscle. The creature just tilted its head slowly, studying me, almost sizing me up. Then it did something I will never, ever forget. It took one slow step forward, still on two legs. Its claws dug right into the muddy road. I could see them clearly now, long black talons, at least 3 inches long. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then, without any warning, it dropped down to all fours. The movement was so fluid, so natural, like it was more comfortable that way. It let out this low growl that vibrated through the air. It wasn't a howl, and it wasn't a bark. It was a deep, guttural rumble that you feel in your chest. That's when my survival instinct finally kicked in. I slammed the truck into reverse. The tires spun in the mud for a split second before finally catching traction. The creature's head snapped up and it started running on all fours, and it was fast. Unnaturally fast. It covered the distance between us in just a few seconds. I could see its muscles flexing under its fur, its jaws slightly open, revealing rows of sharp, menacing teeth. It wasn't running like an animal hunting prey. It was charging me. I shifted into drive and floored it. Gravel sprayed everywhere as the truck fishtailed down that narrow road. In my rearview mirror, I saw it keeping pace with me for a few terrifying seconds. Then, it veered off into the trees and disappeared into the darkness. But the nightmare wasn't over. As I sped down that dirt road, something slammed against the side of my truck, hard. The entire vehicle rocked so violently I nearly lost control. Then came these deep scratching sounds, the awful grind of metal against claws. I didn't look. I couldn't. I just drove. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 2 minutes, I burst out onto the paved county road. Streetlights appeared in the distance, and just like that, everything went quiet again. I didn't stop driving until I was safe in town. The next morning, I forced myself to go back. A part of me needed proof that I hadn't imagined the whole thing. The dirt road looked normal at first, but when I reached the stretch where I had seen it, there were tracks. They weren't deer tracks. They weren't bear tracks. They were massive paw prints, larger than my hand, with deep claw impressions pressed into the mud. And they were spaced so far apart, as if whatever made them had a huge, powerful stride. On the side of my truck were 4 long gouges in the metal panel, deep, clean. Like something with serious strength had swiped at it. I reported it to a local wildlife officer. He didn't say much. He just nodded and said there are large predators in these woods. But I've lived in Washington my whole life. I've seen bears. I've seen wolves. What stood on that dirt road that night? Wasn't either of those. Some people call it Dogman. Others will say it's just a story, but I know what I saw. And I avoid that old rural road now. Because sometimes late at night when the fog rolls in and the forest goes silent, something still walks there.